These Lincoln Center concert halls have seen their share of legendary performances, but great art isn't confined only to Manhattan. For the past decade, the Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center has traveled to one of the country's most beautiful historic sites, Shaker Village of Pleasant Hill, Kentucky, where a vibrant Shaker community once flourished. The result is the annual Chamber Music Festival of the Bluegrass. Under the artistic leadership of pianist Wu Han and cellist David Finkel, CMS has spread its wings far and wide, performing as many concerts around the country and the world as it performs here in New York City. For the first time ever, Live from Lincoln Center took its cameras on the road, heading into the heart of rural America to bring you this uniquely American musical experience. I'm Audra McDonald. Please enjoy Simple Gifts.
I think with all the distractions that we have and all of the incoming all the time with all of our gadgets and whatnot, people are hungry for a chance to let go of that and ignore it for a little while. I think that's one of the reasons that coming to Shaker Village appeals to so many people now more and more, because they can leave so much behind. The idea that we can go to a place like this, which is so rare, and to share that experience is a great opportunity for us as musicians, but even more importantly for the art form of chamber music.
The musicians have been very excited about coming to Shaker Village. There is something so beautiful about this venue.
Everybody responds to something that I have never been able to put my finger on.
It takes you away from wherever you are. And certainly, I think that's one reason the musicians like to come here from New York. It's such a great contrast to the hustle and bustle.
When anybody walks into a performance, you want to go to someplace that's more extraordinary than where you are. This tobacco barn in the middle of this 3,000 acres in the middle of nowhere seems to us in Kentucky, where you have to fly to Lexington, you have to rent a car, you have to drive, and then even when you get to the parking lot, you have to park your car and you have to walk through fields and dirt roads to get to this barn. It's a pilgrimage. You come a long way, but when you get in there, you're in a space that you really feel, oh, I'm somewhere really special.
David came home to me and said, George Foreman, my good friends in Kentucky, has talked to me about there's a possibility of a tobacco barn in the middle of the Shaker Village to start a festival. I remember looking at him like, gee, I think he just went out of his mind.
The genesis of the idea was rather serendipitous. We had presented the Emerson String Quartet at Center College, where I was director of the Performing Arts Center, and we went to dinner after the concert with David Finkel.
And he began talking about this Shaker Village that was nearby and that he had seen a tobacco barn out there. I'd never seen a tobacco barn in my life. I didn't know what that meant. Tobacco barn is a barn with little spaces between the slats of wood so the air moves through it. So it looks magical inside. But he said, you know, you could play music in there. And I said, done, let's do it. Let's make this happen.
The very first year was difficult. I remember gotten there and realized I have no internet and cell phone receptions. I had this huge panic, and all the musicians all looking at each other say, what are we gonna do? In which hill we can drive up on top to receive our cell phone signal and to get our email? And you know, in about 48 hours, somewhat we all disarmed in that environment. Somehow we started to talk to each other. We started to drink bourbons together. We started to actually have a conversation. And then we started to make music together. By the end of the 5 or 6 days, we're kind of different.
The first year, there was a magical experience in the evening. The musicians stay in a part of the village which is, I don't know, maybe half a mile away. And the conditions that year were just perfect for lightning bugs. And driving down that road in the evening, there weren't thousands of them, there were millions. It was just absolutely incredible. You just looked out and they were just sparkling, and somehow the juxtaposition of that magical scene against the music in your ear, it was magical.
A great string quartet is every bit as great as a great symphony or a great opera. It just takes fewer people. And what the best composers did was to look at chamber music as an opportunity to distill their finest ideas into the simplest, a kind of form with nothing extra. I mean, Brahms, for example, famously threw away many of his chamber music pieces because there were too many notes. There was extraneous music. Chamber music tests the ingenuity and the discipline of every composer who tries to compose it.
Nice. Okay, so just
Yeah,
a
that
little
would
bit.
be, yeah, if you come
Yeah.
up, I will have to go in
stuck.
there.
Yeah.
If you go down, it's easy. For me, chamber music is really the most passionate and intimate art form. Intimate is because the way it was created for small chamber. Composer writes for their loved ones, for their dear friends, parties, special occasions. Many composers put down their private thoughts, secret passions. And so the art form itself, the music itself is very, very intense. And if you can have that as a base, and then you add in a whole bunch of really creative, fun-loving, and intense musicians, usually the fireworks starts.
I think something that resonates particularly with the Shaker principles in chamber music is the idea that every player is equal. In chamber music, we have one person playing one part. You don't really duplicate. Every single part, even a second violin, is just as important as a first violin.
You know, chamber music is really the most flexible format of music making. You can have two people as a duo, you're playing chamber music. The most important thing is it communicates between the artist and the audience. For chamber music, it's also an art form you have to work at it. It's not something sort of come at you. It's something you need to observe. Doesn't matter you're a senior musician or you are only 18 years old, you're gonna see all of us making suggestions to each other. Things has to be figured out. We don't have a conductor to give us the downbeat. Who should be leading this part? Who is the leader position in this particular section?
Can we just sort of not feel not do that?
But that position changes all the time. Suddenly your melody shifted to the clarinet or to the flute, then everybody, the attention shift to that. So as a good chamber musician, you have to learn to be a great leader. When you have the tune, you are moving everybody along with you. But as soon as you finish your role, suddenly the leadership shift to the other instrument and you become great supporter. You want to make sure everything you do is supporting that gorgeous melody. It's a living art form for sure. Every concert is different, every rehearsal is different, and that sort of a bonding and that friendship is formed through being a great colleague, having the openness, and having the faith to walk on stage with your friends.
Shaker Village as a whole is a very organic place. The buildings are organic. The stone was quarried here. The bricks were made from clay that was harvested from the ground. The wood for the floors and for the roofs and for the windows was all from trees that were felled here.
Shaker life was a desire to strive for spiritual perfection. And there at least was an element of Shaker theology that indicated that they were living in heaven on earth, or at least trying to reflect what they believed heaven would be like.
The architecture does reflect the lifestyle of the Shakers. In large, wide hallways with twin stairs, identical stairs on each side of the hallway to accommodate sisters on one side of the building and brothers on the other. You walk in the building, you see the symmetry of the lifestyle, that men and women were equal in the faith, more so than in society as a whole outside at that time.
The idea of in heaven, there's not going to be any marriage, so Shakers might say, why do that here? In heaven, the emphasis is going to be on spiritual relationships, men and women as brothers and sisters, creating a large spiritual family.
Since they didn't believe in having children, they had to get their new members, off the street, as it were. And they convinced people to come in. And a lot of times this included homeless people, it included orphans. They took everybody during the Civil War. They were famous for buying and freeing slaves. They were Unionists, but actually treated Confederate soldiers with equal care if they came in wounded or sick.
All you had to do was drive up and say, can you fix us a meal? And they would gladly do that. If you had no place to stay, they would provide you with lodging. I wonder, what would the Shakers think if they came back today?
One of my favorite things about the Shaker ideology is that you work as if you have 1,000 years to live, but as if you'll die tomorrow. And that philosophy is very much in tune with how we as musicians work on our art. We practice carefully, we work very carefully, and you play as if it's your last moment on earth.
There was an element of the work that you did, while it was practical and while it is going to serve the immediate needs of the community, at least from a spiritual perspective, there was an emphasis on doing your work as if it's some kind of commentary on your relationship to God. I don't think they imbued every object that they made with religious significance in a sense, but if you're trying to be a good shaker, if you're trying to follow the teachings of the Shakers, you're going to give yourself wholly to anything that you're trying to do, whether it's making a piece of furniture, whether it's providing meals for the family, or whether it's worshiping on Sunday, which was something that the Shakers saw as involving the entire person, body, and soul.
The Shakers, they were not like the Amish, for example, who renounce technology and gadgets and innovations and things like that and try to do it out. The Shakers were very innovative, and they invented one thing after another. They invented clothespins, they invented the circular saw, and the people from around their communities would come and buy things from them. Everything from brooms to cattle to seeds to grow plants. Everything that they made was the best that you could buy.
They were very entrepreneurial. They were very ingenious about the way that they ran their business affairs. But then when the Industrial Revolution happened, and all of a sudden the things that the Shakers were making and the way it was being made and hand done and, you know, all of those sorts of things, that wasn't what people were wanting anymore. And, you know, all of a sudden the frontier changed. I think this property rose up for a purpose, and it served its purpose quite well.
For this particular project, we thought the best anchor piece, which is very often how we start a programming process. Look for an anchor piece that really will reflect an idea and then see how we could build upon it. So we started out from David, say, of course, we're going to Shaker Village. It's a gift to be simple. Let's play the Copland Appalachian Spring.
Because the Copland, the great ballet that he wrote for Martha Graham, Appalachian Spring, in 1944, has this famous Shaker tune, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple," in it. We've just been waiting for the right year to do this.
I don't think there's much simple about Shaker life. I think it was something they saw as to be simple, small, like a child. That was to be innocent and free of
Pride.
Pride, yeah.
Arrogance.
When Shaker Village was first planned here, this was as far west as you could go. The people who came here and established this place were a great melting pot of people. They were a microcosm of this country. And their efforts for over 100 years were extremely successful.
At its very base, if you look at what the Shakers were accomplishing, I mean, my goodness, out here on the frontier, to accomplish something like this was striking, not just from a religious perspective, but from an architectural perspective. He certainly demonstrated strong ingenuity in making this happen.
People ask me all the time about, well, why would anybody want to become a Shaker? But when you look out onto what the frontier was in this part of the country at that time period, and you were a family living in a 1 or 2 room cabin, had to grow your own crops, and, get your own meat. It was a rough winter, and all of those sort of things began to take a toll on you. And then you look at a property like this that has these magnificent buildings, and everybody's, working together, and they have all the food that they need, and they have all the resources they need. It in of itself is an amazing story of how this group of people really banded together for a common purpose.
In its beginning, it was a very, it seemed kind of radical. It seemed to be going against the ideals of the revolutionary democracy that was developing in America. But I think the key component is it was freedom of religion and freedom to experiment. And the Shakers certainly did that, both in their religion and in the way they created their communities as a communal organization when other people were just exercising their independence. They believed so strongly in the democracy and in American principles.
I think that Shaker Village is as American as any place can get.
Music as an art form can transform you and take you to different places. This particular program in this Americana space is so important. The concert is very colorful, just like our country, and has foreigners coming here like Dvorak and picking up that spirit and dancing the happy joy as Foster, and has the Union Gotcha to really represent the American spirit. That's the reason I come to this country. That's the reason I fell in love with this country. It's an identity that we all share, and we treasure that.
Find us on Facebook and join the conversation on Twitter using #LFLC. You can also watch additional performances and interviews from these artists at pbs.org.